ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. We have looked at the first 6 chapters, and in the last chapter we had a discussion of many topics, and the last topic was what happens if one does not get this knowledge in this life. But one has tried, maybe not enough, but one has studied Vedanta, one has studied Karma Yoga, everything one has tried, but the effort is insufficient. So that must, the answer of Lord Krishna must have been very encouraging for all. All means who? Everyone who might have an inner question. What is the inner question? What will happen if I don't get this knowledge by the time the 6-month course is over? So not to worry. Or even after this life, if I don't get this in this life, what will happen? Nothing will happen. You will be having other opportunities to pursue this knowledge if one is a serious sadhaka. So on this auspicious note, and where Arjuna could sneak in 2 questions to make up for the fact that he had not had a question since the beginning of chapter 5, on this hopeful note, chapter 6 has closed. Not only has chapter 6 closed, an important section of the Bhagavad Gita has finished or wrapped up the topics that the topics for discussion. Whatever was going to be discussed has been now wrapped up. As I said earlier, in giving the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, what did I say? I said it is divided into 3 shatkas. Shatkas means group of 6. Where have we heard the term before, shatka? Any ideas? Shamadhi shatka sampattihi. The gain of Shama, etc., which is known as Shatka, group of 6. Sometimes there are 6 verses together, like in a Vedanta work called Nirvana Shatka. That's also called Shatka, that which has 6 verses. Here the Shatka is called the chapters. Chapters are called Shatka, and the 18 chapters, as I had mentioned earlier, can be divided into groups of 3 sixes. 3 groups of 6, which in Sanskritam is called Shatkatrayam. Shatkatrayam, group of 3 sixes. And then, we have Prathama Shatka, the first group of 6 from chapters 1 through 6. Then we have Madhyama Shatka, the middle group of 6. And then finally we have Charama Shatka. Charama means final, last. The last Shatka, which obviously is from chapter 13 to chapter 18. And the Bhagavad Gita, as we have seen before, follows the Tattvamasi Mahavakya. So at the outset, we have what is called Tvam Pada Vichara. The first Shatka covers the Tvam Pada Vichara. The second Shatka covers the Tat Pada Vichara. And the third Shatka covers the Asipada Vichara. A little more in detail about all these three. First is we have Tvam Pada Vichara. So if the teacher says Tvam, what should you take it as? Aham. So it is Aham Pada Vichara from the standpoint of the student. So what is this I? This is the first chapter is all about me, 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 me. What should I do? What should I eat? How should I behave? How should I focus on the knowledge? Where will I find a teacher? How to look for the teacher? And what should my daily life be looking at? What do you mean dedicate everything to Ishvara? How to, what is Karma Yoga? How to do this? How can anybody live without focusing on karma? And then how come, even though I want this knowledge and want moksha badly, I am still assailed, troubled by raga dvesha? All this comprises the subject matter of the first Shatka, chapters 1 through 6. We have seen that in detail. Then the second Shatka is Tat Pada Vichara. Tat means Brahman, Ishvara. What is this Ishvara? Who is this Ishvara? Is this Ishvara connected to me at all in any way? And how do I look at this connection? Because I don't see Ishvara, much less I see the connection. If I can't see Ishvara, how can I see the connection? So that is something to think about. And then, is this Ishvara a God that is going to be watching my every move and throw all kinds of difficulties in my path? Or is this Ishvara a good Ishvara? Is this Ishvara a difficult Ishvara? Or is this Ishvara a good Ishvara wanting my good and only allowing good things to happen to me? This is a problem with a number of religions. With a number of religions, this is a very, very big problem. And what is the problem? The problem is that this Ishvara is not properly understood. And when Ishvara is not properly understood, what happens? There is a problem. And what is that problem? The problem is that we have no other way to relate. If this Ishvara is outside of me, then what will happen? It will always be outside of me. It will forever be away from me. It will not, this Ishvara will be away from me. And what will I be? I will be a seeker. What kind of a seeker? An infinite seeker. Oh, but isn't that good? No. Seeker of the infinite, very good. And infinite seeker, very, 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 very bad, very difficult. If you're an infinite seeker, then it's not good at all. Because you're seeking infinitely. You seek one thing, you don't find it. You seek another thing, you don't find it. And this is how it goes. So therefore, what is this Ishvara? How to seek this Ishvara? And am I connected to this Ishvara? And if so, how? I want to be connected with Ishvara, but I'm also afraid of losing myself. And then what is this connection? This comprises the subject matter of the chapters 7 through 12. Then, so we have covered Tvam and Tat. And then 13 to 18 is Asi Pada Vichara. Asi means you are. The Shastra says you are non-separate from Ishvara. It does not say, you know what it does not say? Tat Tvam Bhavishyasi. You will become Ishvara after some time. Or Tat Tvam Asit. You were Ishvara, but now, sadly, you are confined to this body and you are Jiva, Jiva, Jiva alone. Full of complaints, full of pains, full of sorrow. You are Anishvara. You are what? Jiva. So therefore, all this has to be understood. If I am one with Ishvara, how am I one with Ishvara? And if there is something that is there on the realm of Anatma, that Mithya realm that I am believing in and that I have to overcome, then how do I go about it? This comprises the subject matter of chapters 13 to 18. Now I want to go back and look at the main topics so that we can do a little bit of Simhavalokanam, just taking stock of what we have studied so far in the first Shatka, and then from there on we will move to the discussion of what are the subject matters, what are the topics discussed in the Madhyama Shatka. What is Madhyama Shatka? Madhyama Shatka means chapters is what is that? Chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we will just take a general, broad, sweeping look so that we remember to see chapters 1 through 6 that we have indeed studied, and we remember to look at it in a fashion, in a way that is, what is that called? In a way uh, that is like a whole. When you see the issues chapter by chapter and verse by verse, there is an advantage, because you are seeing the trees, you are seeing the leaves, you are seeing all the marks on the trees, you are seeing the flowers, you are seeing the genus of each tree, and each tree is like this. This is wonderful. Similarly, each verse is like a flower that belongs to a certain tree, and it's wonderful to identify that and look at the flower in detail and admire the petals and the stem and the fragrance and find out where it grows. There is a certain joy and beauty in that. Now, what we are going to do is look at the forest called chapter 1 through 6. If the whole Gita is a forest, this is a small little ecosystem or an area in the forest, so a part of the forest that we have to look at, so that we can, it was nice to look at the trees, but then we can't be like that, like the student of King Janaka who was told to go who was told to go with two lamps in his hand and then not drop the oil, not even drop a single drop anywhere in the palace, but he was taken on a tour of the palace. And being a very responsible and a good brahmacharin, what did the fellow do? The fellow was so worried about not dropping the oil that he just toured the palace all right, but he did not see a single thing, and he was not able to say anything. What was in room 325? He had no idea. What devatas were in the carving on the palace walls in this particular area? He had no idea. He had no idea of anything at all. He had no idea. And then he had failed the task, because King Janaka said it's not enough to look at things in detail. You have to have a general idea of what all it is about. He was so worried about the details, he just forgot to take in the whole palace. So here too, so that one may not be like that. So we will take a little bit of time to just look back and deal with the topics, just revise the topics in the first that we have already studied in the first 6 chapters. So then, what is the so the first 6 chapters appear to have three prominent topics. This is an overview. Okay, so the three prominent topics are there in the first 6 chapters. What are they? The first one is what is called the Swarupa of the Jiva. The Swarupa of the Jiva is discussed at length. And we find the Swarupa of the Jiva means what? Nature of the individual, the I. The nature of the individual forms the major topic in the second chapter, in the third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, sixth chapter, everywhere. Everywhere the Jiva is discussed, it is pointed out what is this Jiva? Not the body, not the mind, not the senses. What is the Jiva? The Jiva is one whose essential nature is Sat Chit Ananda. The Jiva is one who is not the body mind sense complex, but indeed the Dehi. This was started right in the chapter 2nd. Dehinaha asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhiraha tatra namuhyati. So this was described at great length in the chapter. What chapter was that? The second chapter. And also third chapter, also fourth chapter, everywhere, wherever was possible. I mean, of course, in the second chapter from 12 to 25, it was described. And then in the third chapter, we have verse 41, 42 there, a verse borrowed from the Kathopanishad. Indriyani, Parani, Ahuhu, etc. Then in the fourth chapter also, the individual was pointed out as not karta. I am not a karta. I am not a bhokta. Akartru, abhoktru, atma swarupo aham. I am in the form of that atma swarupa that is different from karta, different from bhokta. And that was pointed out in chapter 4. In chapter 5 also we had the we had the same teaching that the person who is called a jiva is actually the raja of the 9-gated kingdom. Navadvare Pure Dehi Sukham Aste Naiva Kurvan Nakarayan. Not doing anything, not causing anything to be done. The person is not the body, not the mind, not the senses, not the doer. So we saw this Jiva Swarupa is given. And then in addition to Jiva Swarupa, meaning the nature of the individual as Chaitanya Atma, which is not a karta, which is not the bhokta, which is not the pramata, etc. Along with that, Jiva Swabhava was also given. And we have seen in different contexts the difference between Jiva Swarupa and Jiva Swabhava. What is Jiva Swarupa? Essential, unchanging nature. What is Jiva Swabhava? Changing nature. And Jiva Swarupa, essential nature that has nothing to do with the Upadhi, separate from the Upadhi, has nothing to do with the body, mind, sense complex. So, and then what is Jiva Swabhava? Everything to do with the body, mind, sense complex, the moods, the connection thereof, etc., etc. And then Jiva Swarupa, Shuddha Chaitanya, unconditioned as it were, as though unconditioned consciousness. Jiva Swabhava, conditioned by the body, mind, sense complex. Jiva Swarupa, Ananda, nothing but endless, limitless joy. Jiva Swabhava, filled with Raga Dvesha. This was also pointed out. The difference between Swarupa and Swabhava was pointed out so that one understands at the outset that the Swabhava is Prakriti based. It is the result of what is called Maya. In other words, avidya. Avidya belongs to Swabhava. Avidya does not belong to Swarupa. This was also pointed out. This avidya, once removed, all that remains is Swarupa. Swabhava does not go away. It is there, but it has been cleansed, put through the fire of dharma and put through the fire of knowledge. The ragadveshas become vibhutayaha, vibhutis. Just like for Lord Krishna prefers yellow color, pitambaradhari, kunja vihari. And then what else? Prefers a peacock feather, prefers to have a flute. So if one understands that they are preferences, then they are not binding. And for a jnani, like Lord Krishna, they become wonderful attributes for all of us to enjoy. Lord Krishna is not going to sit and cry if all these things are taken away from him. So the swabhava is comes and goes. The swabhava is not at all important in discussing the nature of the individual swarupa, except for the function of negation. So the swabhava is important. What is important about the swabhava is to negate it. And so the negation of the swabhava is also done. And what is this? So the jiva swabhava is equal to the personality. Jiva swarupa, person, purusha. Personality comes and goes, and the personality is a decoration for the individual. If one can handle one's raga dveshas, we saw, and then it is a burden on the individual if one cannot use this life to discover oneself as the Purusha. Purusha means Paramatma, Ishvara. So if one cannot do that, then it is of no use at all. Then what did we discover? Then we discovered that that there is a way. So if I know the difference between swabhava, which is fickle, which comes and goes, which has a binding nature, which keeps me treading on the treadmill of Atma Ajnanam. Once you are running on the treadmill, it's very difficult to get off. You're almost out of habit, you keep running. And let's say it is a runaway treadmill, you can't stop it, very difficult to get off. And so, like this, out of sheer habit, one is floundering, marinating, swimming, drowning in the soup of swabhava. And the more one drowns in the soup of swabhava, one does not enjoy the Satchidanandatvam of the Swarupa. This also we saw. And so, if I am supposed to witness the swabhava and not let the swabhava prevail upon me in all my actions and dealings, what should I do? And also, the swabhava seems to bind, especially in externally in interpersonal relationships with others, including Ishvara, and internally also the swabhava binds, because I am set in my thoughts and ways of who I supposedly am and what this is all about, and then that also binds me from within, causing subjectivity. Swabhava is subjectivity. Swarupa is objective. Swabhava is subjectivity, and causing binding, causing sorrow, causing fear, etc. Now this was the first topic. What is the Jiva Swarupa? How is it different from Jiva Swabhava? The second and very important topic, prominent topic in the Prathama Shatka is what? Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Which is a very important sadhana which cannot be bypassed. In fact, it is the first form of prayer, the first form of upasana taught by Lord Krishna. And the Karma Yoga was talked about, defined dually in chapter 2. And in chapter 2, it was talked, what was said in chapter 2, that Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. The yoga is, what is the meaning of yoga is equanimity in receiving the results of action. And then yoga karmasu kaushalam. And then karma yoga is also the dexterity with which you apply dharma with regard to various situations in your life. That is also karma yoga. These two definitions were discussed, and in fact the whole third chapter was dedicated to the discussion of karma yoga. How to be a karma yogi? What are my duties towards my family, towards the world, towards other beings who cannot talk, who cannot express their pain, and how to make sure that I include them, and how to lead a life of being integrated into a cosmic ecology where I am responsible and where I am accountable not just to myself but to the whole universe. So, Karma Yoga was talked about connecting me to the whole universe in the form of Ishwararpana Buddhi with regard to every task, and Prasada Buddhi with regard to the recipient receiving the results. So, Ishwararpana Buddhi means a Buddhi that thinks of every action as dedicated to Ishvara, brings in Bhagavan as the Karta, and then Prasada Buddhi. These two Buddhis comprise the main components of Karma Yoga. Of course, we have discussed Karma Yoga in much more detail. You can revise those talks later if you want. But for now, since this is just a summary, broad brush strokes is what we are going to be doing. So Karma Yoga is, to put it simply, is with regard to actions. I consider them as acts of prayer, worship, and with regard to the recipient receiving of the action, I regard them as a present from Ishvara. So Ishvara is brought in, and then Karma Yoga is discussed, but the nature of Ishvara is not talked about. Then in the fourth chapter, also there is a discussion of Karma Yoga takes place. In the fifth chapter, it was overtly said, Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyatena sapapena padmapatram iva ambhasa. So just like the water droplets do not stay and do not taint the lotus leaf, they just tremble and fall away. Similarly, all the karmas do not attach to the person who has given the actorship, doership, excuse me, given the doership to Ishvara, considering Ishvara as the doer and receiving the results of action. So I think it's the 10th verse or so. Very beautiful and important shloka. You have to mark that. In the 5th chapter also, Karma Yoga. And in fact, it would be a wonderful sadhana to go over the first 6 chapters in a group, as a group study. You can do that, and then highlight or mark or put an asterisk around all the verses that talk about Karma Yoga. It will be a one, and then read them, understand the meaning, and revise them. It will be a wonderful homework, revision, and a kind of a upasana, nididhyasana. So that comprises the second topic is Karma Yoga. So what is even in the 6th chapter, we saw Karma Yoga right at the beginning. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnihi na cha akriyah. Right at the outset, it starts with a Karma Yoga discussion. Proper action, proper attitude with regard to the action, meaning free of being an agent, and then the proper receiving of the results of action. This is Karma Yoga. And then in the sixth chapter also it was discussed that the person of karma yoga is cheerful, happy, etc. And in the sixth chapter we had a very subtle discussion of karma yoga. What is that? That karma yoga includes being responsible. Just because non-doership is emphasized, if non-doership is emphasized, then what happens? One can fall into the danger of thinking everything is preordained. I have to give everything to God means what? Then it's all preordained. What do I have to do? Nothing. Life will lead by itself. And then suddenly I find myself in the doldrums, in the spell of depression. And that spell of depression and the accompanying swabhava of pessimism, when the karma yoga is what is that, has been afflicted, has been attacked by one's own hopelessness and pessimism. How to clean up that karma yoga was also given in the verses 4 and 5. Uddhared atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet atmaiva atmano ripuhu atmaiva bandhuhu atmanah. You can be your own best friend. You can be your own best enemy. Both are possible. Why? Because it is all up to you. You need to be able to understand you have free will. You need accountability, and you have to have this. And this itself becomes a very important third predominant topic of the chapters 1 through 6, also known as Prathama Shatkam. So the first chapters, in the first 6 chapters, the third topic is what? The dicey and most unclear topic of fate versus free will. So-called fate versus so-called free will. They have it out in the first 6 chapters. Bhagavan talks about that in great detail. And what is talked about here? The tapping the free will and surrendering that free will. Because first of all, what is the free will is talked about, and then this free will is not really free. That is also talked about. Why? Because in the form of hidden variables. Otherwise, Bhagavan would not be discussing Siddhya Siddhyau Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Labha Labhau Jaya Jayau. So, Labha Alabha. Gain, loss. Siddhi, success. Asiddhi. What is asiddhi? Failure. So, if I could do everything with my free will, or if everything was Bhagavan, then where is this failure coming from? Where is asiddhi coming from? And then where is alabha coming from? Where is ajaya or parajaya, defeat, coming from? So that means what? That means there is one's own karma, and then there is also one's own free will. You can't say everything is karma. As we saw earlier in the 4th chapter, Gahana Karmano Gatihi. The way of karma is very mysterious. You cannot tell, only Bhagavan can tell what is karma and what is free will. Only Bhagavan only can tell. So, but still, that doesn't mean I just sit in one place, despondent, desperate, and say, I am not going to have any agency in my life whatsoever. I'm not having any agency in my life, because what's the point? Everything ends in sorrow. You only said everything ends in samsara, everything ends in sorrow, everything ends in pain, everything ends in all kinds of terrible situations. So if everything is predetermined, all I have to do is just lie down and never get up and hope that things will be taken care of. Such a person is chided at the beginning of chapter 6. The one who does not take karma by the horns and try to change whatever can be changed. the one who is ambitionless, the one who has no goals, the one who is just sitting despondent and depressed. And who is that? Arjuna. He has, if you look behind, he has even vacated the chariot and is sitting listening to the Bhagavad Gita on the floor. So the one who has, the one who has basically has no, refuses to take agency. You see, there is a very slight difference between jnani and ajnani. So, in this respect, the jnani says everything is Bhagavan, therefore I don't have to exercise my free will because I am one with Bhagavan. And what does the ajnani say? The ajnani says, yeah, you say everything is Bhagavan, and so if everything is Bhagavan, why do I have this rotten life? And if everything is Bhagavan, that means even if I do a little bit of work, nothing will come out of it. And so may I as well just be very pessimistic and just sit down in one place. And then what? I can continue to blame Bhagavan. See, yesterday also I didn't get anything. Today also that other person got something. I didn't get anything. And so where should the free will be exercised? Number one, to what extent should the free will be exercised? When should I have the wisdom to withdraw the free will and get into the prayer mode of whatever you decide I am going to accept? All this is very, very unclear, and that comprises the third prominent topic of the first Shatka, the first group of 6 chapters. Because you see, the free will means what? The free will is free will and karma are there. And what is this karma? You can't say karma is coming on top of me. Karma is handled by Ishvara. Karma is maybe karma phala is given by Ishvara, no doubt, but whose karma is it? You cannot say by mistake Ishvara gave me neighbor's karma. No, your own karma. Oh, so that means everything is predetermined. What do you mean predetermined? What is your karma? What is karma first of all? Oh, it is the phala of karma. Yes, it's the fruit of action. Again, may I remind you, whose actions? Your own action. You cannot say this is the neighbor's action. This is not the neighbor's action. This is your own action. And then when your actions are in tandem with Ishvara, aka Dharma, because Dharma is a manifestation of Bhagavan, we have seen that, when your actions are in tandem with Ishvara, then what happens? Then Punya results. Those actions result in Punya. When you move away from Ishvara, from Dharma, and do your own thing, and what is your own thing? Go away from Dharma, that is your own thing. And then that accrues Papa. What is Punya? Comfortable situations to be enjoyed in the here and the hereafter as a result of actions that are confirmed to Dharma. What is the definition of Papa? Uncomfortable situations in the here or the hereafter that succumb to that attract certain unfavorable results and uncomfortable results. That is Papa, because of having indulged in adharmic actions. So why did you do dharmic actions? Because of the exercise of free will, either in this or previous lives. Why did you do adharmic actions? Because of the exercise of free will. So tell me, where is karma? Where is determinism? Where is fatalism? And in fact, many Western writers, they still continue to talk about India as a land of fatalists and what is that, full of fatalism, full of no drive. That's why it's a third world country, etc. Until recently, this was the song they were singing. This was exactly the song that everybody was singing. Horrible. Very fatal to the view of India. Terrible. And Hindu religion also full of fatalism. Karma yoga does not make you fatalist. Karma yoga is a cushion to be able to withstand the onslaught of the results of my own actions. When I have violated the agreement of what free will is, when I have violated the agreement of free will and gone into adharma, then karma yoga gives me the ability to, is like a shock absorber in a car. It gives me the ability to be very, very present, and it gives me the ability to withstand my difficult karma phalas. So karma yoga is not fatalism. It insulates one from the onslaught of difficulties. Whether those difficulties are one's own karma phala, or whether those difficulties are because of the abuse of somebody else's free will in present time, karma yoga gives me a shock absorber. And what is this karma yoga? Karma yoga is a duty based sacred life. A life where all the duties are sanctified as offerings to Ishvara. Duties means what? My roles in my own life and my family, my roles towards parents, my roles towards spouse, my roles towards the siblings, my duties towards the children, my duties, then we broaden it, because that's not where the duty stops. And in fact, the one who is only doing the duty for this much people is chided by the Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter as a robber, as aghayuhu. Aghayuhu means the person is an incarnation of papa. The whole person is an embodiment of papa. He or she is a Purnavatara of Papa. And then what? Then Aghayuhu Indriyaramaha. Indriyaramaha means the one who only wants to fulfill their own ragadveshas. And then what? Finally, Indriyaramaha Mogham Partha Sajivati. In the 3rd chapter, we saw uselessly such a person lives, Arjuna. Uselessly. He or she is a burden on earth mother, on the mother, on the goddess Bhumi, Bhudevi. She is a goddess. And if I am walking on this earth, I have to live a life of not just individual responsibility to me and mine, what I consider me and mine, but that responsibility flows to the entire universe. That's why there are Pancha Mahayajnas we saw. 5 Mahayajnas. What are they? Towards the gods. Deva Yajna. Gods means God, means deities, various deities. Deva Yajna, Pitri Yajna, ancestors. There are responsibilities towards the ancestors who bless us every day, and without whose blessings we are not able to live. And responsibility towards the ancestors, responsibility towards the deities who help us, and then responsibility towards manushyas, other people, and then responsibility towards bhutas. Bhutas means all other non-human being life forms, non-human life forms, other beings. And then finally, responsibility towards the rishis. Pancha Mahayajna was discussed, and then how to broaden this I, me, mine through Karma Yoga, through the mechanism of Karma Yoga. I stretch the I to cover the entire universe in form of my own responsibility, my own accountability, and in so doing, the raga dveshas dissolve, the raga dveshas resolve, the raga dveshas are able to be suspended. In so doing, I am blessed with spiritual growth. I have emotional maturity. And then what is the purpose of this emotional maturity? To be able to study the 2nd Shatka of the Bhagavad Gita, to be able to study what is going to come before us, to be able to have Guru Prapti, and to be able to not take this knowledge for granted. And so the first Shatka with these 3 prominent topics formed a bridge between the individual Swabhava, in which one is in the state of, to the Swarupa, which one has to own up. Through what? Through the mechanism of Karma Yoga, and then applying the free will. Where should I apply the free will? In the performance of my duties. towards the whole society, starting from myself and the family, towards the entire universe. I have duties in the form of these 5 yajnas, so to speak, and that I perform. And then what? And then that results in antahkarana shuddhi, which results in jnana prapti. So this was all talked about, and the bridge here is between the swabhava, which has to be slowly discarded, and the swarupa, which is Satchidananda, which has to be accepted and embraced. This is the journey, and in this journey there are many difficulties, and those difficulties are also dedicated to Ishvara. This was also pointed out. And in the journey from displacing the swabhava and taking on and accepting and assimilating this swarupa, the role of the free will cannot be highlighted enough. The Guru is not going to search for you. Where are you? Oh, Priya Shishya, come to me. No. If any Guru does that, stay far away from them. If they are looking for you, duck under a tree, because that is not an ideal Guru to have. Just hide when such a Guru comes looking for you. You should go looking for the Guru. That is the exercise of free will. You should do your duty. That is the exercise of free will. And another portion of this Swadharma is letting your talents and letting your skills be honed and exhibited for the service of the society. A very important component of Swadharma must not be forgotten. Swadharma is not just duty towards the family, towards the society. In fact, people forget the society part. They just think towards the family, I have duty. That's all. And then, so that should be not taken into account. And then what? Towards the society, and towards the universe, there are duties. One has to expand the eye. This is the first component of Karma Yoga. And the second component, where again the free will is involved, is to allow the talents to flow. The talents are there, but they are inhibited by various pessimism, depression, despair, lack of self-confidence, etc. And in reserving the God-given talents for myself or not letting them express, then I'm doing a great disservice, because nobody's life is a waste. Everybody has a purpose in life, and that purpose is not just to take care of the family. There is a higher purpose, and that purpose has to be discovered and allowed to manifest. And all this comprises and in so doing, one is a complete individual ready for this knowledge. This was the sum total of the summary of the first 6 chapters. First 6 chapters we have completed, and we are on the threshold of the middle section, chapters 7 through 12. Here too, we can delineate the three prominent topics that we are going to be discussing in the second set of 6 chapters, called Madhyama Shatka. Madhyama Shatka also there are three prominent topics. Whereas in the first Shatka, Jiva Swarupa was the first prominent topic. In the middle Shatka, we will find Ishvara Swarupa as the first prominent topic. Ishvara has been mentioned. Dedicate your karma to Ishvara has been mentioned. And in other places also Ishvara's mention is there. Of course, you can't have Karma Yoga without Ishvara. And so Ishvara is very much there in the first 6 chapters. But here, what is this Ishvara is highlighted. So what is Ishvara Swarupa is highlighted. And then, then we find out certain very important differences. Jiva, individual, microcosm, Ishvara, total macrocosm. Jiva, Vyashti, individual. And the same, macrocosm means samashti, total. Yashti Samashti. That is the first one, the nature of God versus nature of Jiva. This was there. And then again, it's all about God, 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 God. Nature of God, Ishvara, function of God, glory of God, 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 God. It's all God. And then we this is Ishvara Swarupa, and then we find that while discussing Jiva Swarupa, it was mentioned that Jiva is Satchidananda Atma. And what is this Satchidananda Atma? In the form available to me. How do I access this Satchidananda Atma? The Satchidananda Atma is available to me in the form of consciousness, in the form of Chaitanya Swarupa. What is this consciousness? I am. I am, and I am aware that I am. This awareness that is self evident is called consciousness. And that is described as having no beginning, having no end. And so this is Jiva is Chaitanya Swarupa. After all the upadhis of raga, dvesha, body, mind, sense complex is negated and put aside, Jiva is Chaitanya Swarupa. And if Jiva is Chaitanya Swarupa, what is Ishvara? Ishvara also has an upadhi. If the Jiva's upadhi is wave, Ishvara's upadhi is what? Ishvara's upadhi is ocean. And how is the wave connected to the ocean? That all has to be discussed. Is it a little small, little tiny part of the ocean? Is it non-separate from the ocean? You know the answer, but then it will be fun to find out how it is discussed. And then also in the first 6 chapters was the Jnani was discussed. Who is the Jnani? The Jnani's Swarupa is discussed, and the Jnani Swarupa is free of ragadveshas. The one who has taken karma yoga to its culmination, and also studied from a teacher and has assimilated Atma Jnanam. The Jnani Swarupa, Jnani Lakshana was discussed, something to look forward to for the rest of the people who are on the road to spiritual growth. The Jnani Swarupa was discussed, and then in the discussion of Ishvara Swarupa, we find that there is not much difference between the Ishvara Swarupa and the Jnani Swarupa, and of course that will be the subject matter of the last sextet, the last 6 chapters, so we don't need to go there right now, but I just thought I would mention it. So Ishvara Swarupa, Ishvara as a upadhi was discussed, just like Jiva is a upadhi, and this is what this is a very important topic. And then the second topic in the Madhyama Shatka is sadhana. The second topic in the first 6 chapters is also sadhana. What is sadhana? Bahiranga sadhana, karma yoga. An outward based sadhana was discussed because the mind and all is not yet prepared. In the second group of 6 verses, the antaranga sadhana in the form of upasana is going to be discussed. Ishvara dhyanam, how to meditate upon Ishvara. And so this is, so from the gross, we are going into the subtle. In Karma Yoga, it's all about service. How to serve the family, what to do, how to not let the Raga Dvesha do this. Little bit of Dhyanam is given in chapter 6, it's given in detail. But here, the Dhyanam is Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasa Dhyanam is given here. There is a discussion on worship, Upasana. And then the final topic, which is discussed in the Madhyama Shatkam, is the topic of Ishvara Anugraha. How to tap the grace of Ishvara. tapping the grace of Ishvara is important through leading a prayerful life by understanding the nature of Ishvara and dedicating oneself to a prayerful life. So why is the grace of Ishvara necessary? We will see in detail in chapter 11, Vishwarupa Darshana, because those that had the grace of Ishvara escaped the wrath of Ishvara because they were in tandem with Dharma. So how to tap into the grace of Ishvara, and how even though I have free will, that free will is Ishvara Srishti. So that free will succumbs to the laws of Ishvara. This is a very, very important topic. And so if the last topic in the first 6 chapters is the use of free will, or how to understand I have free will, the chapters 7 to 12 talk about the limits of this very free will. What are the limits? Ishvara is the limit, because this free will, being itself part of Ishvara's creation, operates within the laws of Ishvara. So I am free, but not exactly under the, I have free will, but not exactly under the circumstances of my choice. Not exactly under the circumstances of my choice, I have this free will. This is what is going to be discussed. And in order to remove the pratibandhas, how to tap into the grace of Ishvara, what to do, etc., that becomes an important topic. And indeed, the discovery of Ishvara and the inviting Ishvara into my life has become what? Ishvara Anugraha, Ishvara Kripa becomes a very important part of connecting to Ishvara and the one's own self growth. So my prayatna and Ishvara's Anugraha together can accomplish miracles. My effort and Ishvara's grace together. So the idea is, in the beginning, to make friends with Ishvara as a partner in my own spiritual growth. So shake hands with Ishvara and say, I am aboard, I am on board for this. Yes, please teach me, please tell me how to do this. And then from this so-called partnership, you find you are shaking hands with yourself at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. And then so the praise verse at the end of the Bhagavad Gita is Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutihi. So this is, Dhruva Nitir Matim Mama. So Lord Sanjaya says, Sanjaya concludes at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, where there is a jiva called Arjuna, a jiva like Arjuna, full of Shraddha, fully committed to this knowledge, a karma yogi par excellence, and has Bhagavan, totally is infused with Bhagavan. And then where there is a Shishya like like Arjuna, and where there is the Lord of the universe, Lord of yoga, like Lord Krishna, then 3 things are assured. Shrihi is assured, as abundance, prosperity in the here and the hereafter is assured. Vijaya, success in all endeavors is assured. Bhuti, material comforts and gains are all assured. So spiritual success, material gains, prosperity are all assured in this partnership between Jiva and Ishvara, the so-called partnership. It is not really a partnership, it's just a stepping stone to understanding the truth of oneself. And so therefore, Ishvara Anugraha is a very important topic, and the nature of Ishvara as, from a two-way standpoint. What is the second standpoint? The first standpoint is Ishvara as Avatara, Ishvara as Bhagavan, Ishvara with various forms, Rama, Krishna, Devi, etc. That is very important. And then the second thing that is going to be discussed in the Madhyama Shatka is not just these avatars that come and go. Even Krishna had to die. Krishna had to die watching his Yadava army destroy itself. And he knew, he just sat down next to next to the tree, because he knew the next arrow was coming for him. He knew that. And so he didn't lament because he is Bhagavan, but still, this Bhagavan? Or is something else Bhagavan? Because formed is Bhagavan, but then what is the essential Swarupa of Bhagavan? Nameless, formless, just like the Jiva. Nameless, formless, Satchidananda. The essential Swarupa of Bhagavan is also nameless, formless, Satchidananda. Nirguna. Nirguna. And then that is also discussed as a very important thing. And then and then, so if it is nameless, if Ishvara Swarupa is nameless and formless, how do I connect? In the form of the manifest universe and the universal laws. Already we have been told Ishvara is the universe. See the whole universe as Ishvara. And then now we are going to be told exactly how to do it. So therefore, for us, dear friends, a wonderful treat awaits in this second segment in general of the Bhagavad Gita, and the seventh chapter in particular. So in the next talk, we will see the verses of the seventh chapter. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ